the beautiful and marvelous state of Florida. 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. I'm new to the committee, or the subcommittee, having just been added to Foreign Affairs shortly before the August recess. It's an honor to be here and be discussing the subject. I want to talk about why I think this is important, why we should care, because that's really what many of my constituents ask me on all of these issues of international relations. Why should they care? And I'm going to give my reason, then I've got a couple of questions. I worry about this because we clearly have a problem in Venezuela with narco-trafficking, trafficking of drugs. And I am incredibly grateful to President Trump for showing such leadership and saying, I'm not going to let these drugs come into our country. And I fully applaud and support everything that he is doing there. But Attorney General Bondi stated in August of this year that the Venezuelan regime has paid for access to Honduran airspace to transport cocaine without detection. And that bothers me. And so we should care because Honduras' geographic position makes it critical for us to stop this. It also matters because we have to worry about geopolitical competition. We have to worry about a world in which China wishes to be ascendant. And as they come into our part of the world, the Western Hemisphere, we need to be cognizant of that. And as we've seen in Honduras, that is a risk. And then finally, I am very focused on the pitfalls of illegal immigration and the extraordinary damage that it has done to my constituents in the state of Florida with higher criminal costs, higher health care costs, higher education costs, higher insurance costs, and higher housing costs. And it's my view that all illegal immigrants, every single one, should be sent home. And so the last thing we need is to create situations where more want to come to our country. So I think for all of these reasons, we need to be concerned about what is happening in Honduras. So I have a question for the ambassador, who I served with in the Florida House, and it's always an honor to see you here. Honduras was among only 4 Latin American countries, along with Bolivia, Cuba, and Nicaragua, that recognized Maduro's fraudulent election in July of 2024. How does that fact reflect on their commitment to democratic norms, and what does that say we should be concerned about with the election that's coming up in just a few days?
Thank you, Congressman. Great to see you. It's a complete abandonment of traditional democratic norms. No serious country, center-left, center-right, Republican, Democrat, recognized the Maduro election. And the ones who did recognize it recognized that Maduro was not elected, and Maria Corina Machado, through El Mundo, was actually the elected representative of the country of Venezuela. But I think it speaks much deeper to their long-term plans. When you recognize fraudulent elections, when you participate in fraudulent elections, when you celebrate fraudulent elections, it really is their modus operandi of what they plan to do in the next 10 days. And I think all the steps they've taken, the state of emergency, the politicization of the Attorney General being related to one of the candidates, the elimination of the Electoral Council, the replacement of the Electoral Council, the military being involved in the election, it's all the roadmap to what's to come. We hope it doesn't get there.
So my follow-up, and actually I'll ask this for all of you, but I'd ask you keep your answer to sort of 10 seconds, is do you have, each of you have legitimate concerns that the outcome of the election will not be free and fair and something that we can take great confidence in? Or are you saying, no, we can count the votes and we'll know where we are the next day?
I have concerns.
I would say we would have concerns if the CNE and the TJE are not allowed to do their jobs.
Okay, and do you think they'll be allowed to do their jobs? I'll get to you in a second, sir, but do you think they'll be allowed?
We hope so, and we hope that this hearing is sending a strong message.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with my colleagues here that we definitely have concerns, but I would also just note quickly that this problem of authoritarianism isn't one just on the left, it's also one on the right. I will note that El Salvador, Bukele has imprisoned Ruth Lopez, a civil society activist.
Not the hearing today. I got a minute and 8 seconds left. So I've got another question for my friend the ambassadors. Do you assess that the pattern of prosecuting electoral judges, forcing resignations of opposition CNA representatives, releasing allegedly fabricated audio recordings mirrors the authoritarian playbook that we've seen in Venezuela and Nicaragua? And what are your thoughts on that?
It was actually copyright written by the Cubans and then exported across the region. I agree with your assessment.
Well, I share that concern. We obviously want great relationships with our neighbors. To me, it's less about who wins an election. It's more about can you have confidence in them. And I think you all have raised grave concerns about what's going to happen. I hope that the Hondurans are able to have a free and fair election and that we can continue to have great relations with the country. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Fine. Now I recognize Representative Titus from the state of Nevada.